Welcome to the 12 Days of Edition Wars. In this year's series, we will be taking a deep dive into the iconic monsters of D&D. On this, the first day of Edition Wars, my DM gave to me the Carrion Crawler. I am your host, Sam Dillon, and I am here with my lovely co-host, Brandis Stoddard.
Hello.
And today we are going to treat your ears to the information from all the editions regarding my best friend, the Carrion Crawler.
I just never say Carrion Crawler in relation to my ears again. Could a little mercy,
Well,
because these things are
they're
distressing.
they are distressing, but they're big, so they're not going to accidentally crawl into your ears. So it's okay.
Well, not without some tearing.
True. All right. So the first incidents, is that the right word to use? The first sighting
Hmm.
of carrion crawlers in Dungeons and Dragons is in OD&D, and it is in Supplement 1, which is the fourth book that was produced. So it was the first supplement after the little white box or the little wood grain box. And on page 33 of said book, there is a table that describes monsters and treasure, and it tells us the monster type, the number appearing, its armor class, its movement rate, its hit dice, the percentage chance it'll be in its lair, and what type of treasure. And going way down on that table, you find that Carrion Crawler, which is located just below owlbears and just above gelatinous cubes, which I think is apropos. They
Right, that's alphabetical order for
yes,
you.
yeah,
O
yeah, right.
C G. Nailed it. Good job, Gary. Nailed it.
Yes, yes. I'll tell you, Sturges are two above, and Rust Munster's right before that,
Sure.
and below the gelatinous cubes are giant slug and homunculi. So yeah, alphabetical order. Uh-huh.
Sure.
So, so 1 to 6 is the number appearing. So imagine meeting 6 carrion crawlers. Blah.
Mm.
3/7 is the AC, and what we're going to find out is that means that the head of the creature has an AC of 3, and the body of the creature has an AC of 7. But you're going to have to wait a while for us to tell you how I know that.
Yeah.
Um, the 12 is its movement, which is actually quite a pretty good movement. That's the largest, almost largest you can get there. 3+1 is its hit dice, which means 3d8 plus 1 number of hit points they might have. Or the other way to say hit dice, remember from way back in one of the very early episodes of Edition Wars, what we learn is hit dice means how many times that you can hit the creature and it will basically kill it. So you're going to have to hit this thing at least 3 times with a standard weapon, okay? 60% chance of being in lair, and treasure type B. Now, none of that really tells us anything. It gives us statistics, doesn't really tell us a huge amount. So let's go to the description. So remember, this is the first description that we get of carrion crawlers in the entirety of the Dungeons and Dragons game. And
And
here is, yeah, go ahead.
for those of you who are listening with your earbones and not watching the non-existent streaming of this episode, you have to understand that Sam has just scrolled many, many pages. It is an
I'm,
act of
yeah,
absolute violence to
I'm,
basic usage.
I'm doing I was being a good, baseball, announcer, because when the rain delay got called, I was filling in the air by talking as I was
That's right.
scrolling. See,
That's right.
that's yeah.
No,
So that's yeah.
you're doing play-by-play very well. I am providing color commentary, right? I'm the other
Yeah.
guy in the booth with you, just letting them know that there's a charming anecdote about this promising young player, number 47, the Carrion Crawler.
Yes. So carrion crawlers. Here's what it says to us about carrion crawlers. These scavengers will usually attack in order to ensure that there will continue to be a supply of corpses to scavenge. They are worm-shaped, about 9 feet in length, 3 feet high at their head end, and move quickly on multiple legs. So, in other words, a giant worm, a giant caterpillar with many, many legs. So maybe giant centipede is what it's evoking now.
Right.
Their mouths are surrounded by 8 tentacles of about 2 feet in length, and their touch causes paralyzation. Save versus or paralyzed. The carrion. Now notice there's no end. You're just paralyzed. Period.
Yeah.
The carrion crawler
Yeah.
is able to climb slash move along walls or ceilings as readily as floors, thus allowing it to compete with ochre jellies, black or gray puddings, and the like.
I
Now,
can only assume that there's some expectation that the DM will eventually let the duration on that paralysis expire.
so what we're going to find out in basic D&D, and I don't know if you remember this from previous discussions, like last year when we talked about
Hmm.
spells, or maybe that was the year before. I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
we learned that in basic D&D, cure light wounds actually
Mm,
also will cure paralysis.
that's right. That's right. I did forget about that.
But in OD&D, there's no such
Hmm.
rule. Because if we look at cure light wounds in OD&D, during the course of one full turn, this spell will remove hits from a wounded character. A die is rolled and 1 pip is added. So basically, you roll a d6 plus 1, and that's the amount of hit points you're healed. The way they say it here, the amount of damage removed. Okay, no
This,
mention of paralysis whatsoever.
that the a die is rolled, one pip is added remains an insane way
Yeah,
to try to explain for perhaps the first time in the book
yeah.
d6 plus one.
The only time that it talks about paralysis in this particular book is when it talks about the fact that Constitution is how well your character can withstand being paralyzed, right?
Hmm.
Whoops, that was bad. And then in is there an entry in here? So no, that's not the right entry. Uh, so in OD&D Book 2, of course, ghouls can paralyze, right? And
Right.
I will note here for you as I'm showing on the screen for those of you watching and not listening. Uh, Ghouls paralyze, and it also does not give you an end
Yeah.
designation
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
paralysis, right?
So
Uh,
that's a tough way to just leave it up to the DM whether you still have a character to play or not.
right. So the idea of let's see, and see, over here it talks about artifacts. Some artifacts, this is also in book 2 of OD&D. Some artifacts can have um, effects that can be incurred. Okay.
Sure.
And one of the effects is paralysis. And then it says, until freed by designated means. And so I only bring that up to note that the Carrion Crawler and the Ghoul, which, I only mentioned tangentially, but still the same kind of effect, right? Paralysis. There is no designated means to free yourself from that paralysis.
Yeah.
So the means is that you have to rely on your DM to decide, oh, well, once the creatures are killed, they can carry you back to town, and let's decide some 1d4 days or hours or whatever, right?
Right.
Or a spell, some other spell, cure disease, right? Might work on that, right? It's up to the DM. In other words, okay, that's different from every other edition, right? That's different from every other edition.
Yeah. 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 And so when people talk about these rules were shockingly incomplete, this is one of the things they mean.
Right. Yeah. And I mean that's by design, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this was like the first, concepts. But I do want to do one more thing though. So this is page 39. Here's 39, right? That the table that we were talking about, okay, as Brandis so helpfully pointed out, was way back here on page 33, so 6 pages previous, right? And if we go to page 6, we come down here to page 6, and we have a very lovely first picture of a carrion crawler.
Amazing.
So the first instance of a visual representation of the carrion crawler is on page 6 of the Greyhawk supplement. I heartily recommend that if you are not watching this, so you cannot see the screen, that you go. find a PDF version of this book and take a look at this picture. Um,
The resemblance to Eric Carle's seminal work, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, is more than incidental.
exactly, exactly. So that's OD&D. So let's move on to Holmes Basic. And
I just
Holmes,
want to say,
yep,
if you're
yes,
seriously encountering up to six of those at a time, and they have eight paralyzing tentacles, I I
right.
strongly question how anyone ever fought them and survived, literally ever, in the
Hmm.
whole of OD&D.
Right, right. Well, and the key comes later you're going to see after Holmes, they start actually providing a tiny bit more information
Yeah.
about it. And by the time we get to second edition, of course, we get a whole ecology, and then that
Oh yeah.
continues through third and fourth and everything. But you know, basically the idea is they attack and they use all their tentacles at the same
hmm
time.
hmm
So
I see that.
basically, they're
Attacks
going
eight
to
tentacles.
right they're
Jesus.
right they're going to they're going to attack the same person 8 times, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to paralyze. Once you're paralyzed, you can't be more paralyzed. You're just paralyzed, which means that for that round, the rest of the party gets a chance to attack and kill the carrion crawler, right? Or
Which is fine if
or
there's one of them.
right, or hear me out, run away, or they get to run away, right?
Right.
Um,
Ditching your
um,
sorry ass.
right. Yes, that's right. It has happened.
Look, you don't have
So
to be
yeah,
faster than the carrion crawler. You just have to be faster than the paralyzed
right.
guy.
That's right.
That
That's
that's
exactly
pretty
it.
easy.
So right. So the Holmes basic carrying crawler is slightly different. The move is the same, 120 feet per turn. The hit dice are the same, 3+1. The armor class is different. Um, in OD&D, the armor class was 3 for the head and 7 for the body. Here it just says 7, so it's just saying 7 for everything.
hmm
Okay.
hmm
Treasure type's the same, alignment's the same because it's basically an animal. Okay. It has 8 tentacles. The tentacles don't do any damage. However, of course, they paralyze, right? And it
Yeah.
says this scavenger is worm shaped, 9 feet long, 3 feet high at the head, and moves quickly on multiple legs. Same basic description as OD&D. It can move equally well on the wall or ceiling. Same description. The mouth parts are surrounded by 8 tentacles, 2 feet long, which produce paralysis on a touch. That is when a hit is made. So it makes it clear they have to hit, not just rub up against you. They have to actually hit with an attack roll. But again, no duration on the paralysis. This is basically
hmm
just OD&D, but written in a more palatable manner because I didn't have to scroll to give you all of that information. I didn't have
That's
to go
right.
from one table to
Yeah.
the next, right?
The presentation is much cleaner and more usable at the
Mm-hmm.
table with
Mm-hmm.
less page flipping.
Right.
Now, there is less characterization here because they don't talk about sort of the motive to paralyze things so that they will die and be carrion. Um,
Right. It
like
assumes that it already assumes that, right?
yeah,
It
it
assumes
just
it. Yeah.
here where the damage yeah, it assumes you know what carrion crawlers do and what they're for.
Right.
But here where the damage is zero, you sort of get to okay, so it paralyzes you and then nothing. It
Right.
has no other course of action. Like
Right.
it can't kill you, presumably, because
Right.
no amount of attacking
Right.
does any damage.
Right. And
That's
so
interesting.
if we compare that to, if I come back to my little lovely picture here, if we compare that to page, does it say damage? So there's no damage here on the table. Let's
Oh,
see.
good.
We got 3 more turns, right? And then, in the description, what does it say? It says the mouse is surrounded. Their touch causes paralyzation.
It's just
The
unclear.
carrion crawler. Yeah, so it's very. It doesn't actually tell you, right? It doesn't tell you. So right now we've got OD&D with a relatively vague. Okay, you're gonna encounter this thing. It's a carrion crawler. It's a scavenger. Okay, it says these scavengers attack in order to ensure that there will continue to be a supply of corpses. So they attack you, paralyze you, you starve to death and die. Now you're a corpse. Now it comes back to eat you.
Yeah, I mean, waiting for you to starve to death rather than a goblin coming and cutting your throat means there'll be less of you to eat. But sure, okay.
Right. Right. But that's what I mean. Like I could interpret it as okay, they paralyze you and leave because they're scavengers, they only eat dead things, so they have to wait for you to die. Or, as we'll see in later editions, they just start munching on you once you're paralyzed.
Yeah.
Right. So so that's OD&D and Holmes Basic. So relatively unclear. Again, these are these two editions of the game are very close. Holmes is just a restatement of OD&D with a better layout, easier to sort of compile the information. Um, and Holmes is meant to immediately feed you after third level into AD&D. So Holmes isn't meant to push you into basic, it's meant to push you to AD&D. So we're kind of going to leave that to the side for a second, and we're going to talk about basic D&D, the BX version, which is the mold they cook red and blue boxes, basic and expert. And we get another nice piece of art, a slightly different piece of art for the Carrion Crawler in Holmes Basic. And oops, let me adjust that real quick. And then here's what it says. So armor class 7. So again, we have no distinction between, at least not in the stat block, between the armor class of the head and the body. Hit dice stayed the same, 3+1. Movement's the same, 8 tentacles. Damage, now it says paralysis. Still no actual hit point damage. The number appearing now is 1 to 3. Their saves are like a fighter. They have a morale score of 9, which is pretty high. And treasure type stayed the same, and their alignment stayed the same. The description basically stays the same. The scavenger is worm-shaped, 9 feet long, 3 feet high, with many legs. It can move equally well on a floor, wall, or ceiling, like a spider. Its mouth is surrounded by 8 tentacles, each 2 foot long, which can paralyze on a successful hit unless a saving throw versus paralysis is made. Once paralyzed, a victim will be eaten unless the carrion crawler is being attacked. The paralysis can be removed by a Cure Light Wound spell, but any spell so used will have no other effect. Without a spell, the paralysis will wear off in 2 to 8 turns.
So other than a substantial abuse of the future conditional, which was very common at the time in
Yep. Yes.
role-playing writing and has
Right.
become, let's say, a topic of threats with an aluminum baseball bat. This is a very specific story
Mhm.
that I got from my friend Greg Stolze about being threatened by his editor with an aluminum baseball bat were he, through some misjudgment, to continue the use of the future conditional. Other than that, this does a wonderful job of answering many of the key questions
Right.
of sort of that carrion crawler life and combat. Uh,
Right. Yep. Now we know it will eat you unless it's being attacked. If it's being attacked, it will turn and try to attack you back. And then presumably, as long as it's not being attacked, so once it kills the rest of the party or paralyzes the rest of the party, then it'll start eating them. Okay. So we know it now. Now we know it eats immediately. Okay. We
yeah,
also now know that if it doesn't eat fast enough, somebody that it paralyzed can actually wake up, depending on how long it takes it to eat, because the paralysis wears off in 2 to 8 turns. So basically 2d4 turns. So you might roll 2, in which case you might for 20 minutes have to be horrified at watching the carrion crawler eat your party members,
yeah,
but then you wake up from being paralyzed, or you wake up, you're awake, right? Because recognize paralysis means you just can't move. You
right.
are magically breathing, right? Because
Uh-huh.
other actual paralysis would actually suffocate you, right? But you're magically breathing, but you can't move, which means if you have your eyes open and you're still able to perceive what's in front of you because you're not asleep. So if it's eating your party, PC friends, that
Well,
could
I mean,
be
we don't know how
within
long it
sight.
takes them to eat a medium-sized creature or a small-sized
Right,
creature.
we
We
don't.
have no
That's
idea.
that's true. We don't. Right. So you might survive it if you actually if the paralysis wears off, or if uh, a generous cleric comes by and cures you of your paralysis by casting Cure Light Wounds while the carrion crawler is still eating someone else. Anyway, so that's it. It actually it expands on it a great deal. It makes it so that you definitely see where it's going, and this is going to remain basically unchanged for the next 2 or 3 iterations of the creature. Okay,
Yeah.
but notice it's still very similar to its original incarnation. Like it's not really different, it's just more explanation.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
that's not too bad.
yeah, I mean, the core concept is not going anywhere. There is some additional clarity, and I like the save as line. I think
Yep.
that's great to include here.
Hmm.
Um, I really like the reduced number appearing because, oh sweet Jesus, eight
Right.
attacks each for each of three
Right.
creatures,
Right.
buddy.
Well,
No,
imagine if it was a random encounter
yeah,
on, say, the second level of a dungeon, because that's where it is in the
yeah,
OD&D tables. It's on the second level.
that's right.
So it's on the second level of the dungeon, and the DM rolls a 6.
No, I'm good. That's so much.
So now you've got 48 tentacle attacks
No,
possibly coming at you.
no, no. I would not like
Yeah.
that. That is something we would now recognize as a critically bad DM experience at the
Right.
table.
And the way that the only possible outcome of that, if the party, no matter what level they are, right? Especially in early D&D, right? No matter what level, you are not going to survive 48 tentacle attacks that could paralyze you, right?
Yeah,
So that's 48 saves in a row you'd have to, or if you spread it out amongst, 6 PCs, that's still 8 saves every PC has to make
yeah,
if each carrion crawler only attacks one PC, right?
yeah. And at low
You have to
at
make,
low character level, there is
right,
absolutely no way, just odds on,
right,
that you're going
right,
to be missed enough
right,
times to then pass
right.
all your saves. Not happening.
Even if 2/3 of the tentacles miss, you still have to make 2 or 3 saves in a row every turn,
Right.
right?
And your saving throw values are
Right. Is
bad.
not good. Yeah, right, exactly. Not good at all.
And
So,
so like I
yeah.
recognize that like 90% of the survival strategy here is spot them at a distance, kill them with ranged weapons. Good game.
Well, and they're pretty fast though. So
Exactly. You need
that
to win initiative
requires,
also.
right. You need to win initiative every round because remember,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
right? You're rolling every
Well,
round.
you
So,
need them to be dead in the first round. If they have a
right.
chance to move even 40 feet toward you, like that's
Right,
that's
but
most of your encounter distance.
right, but
You're already losing.
even if you hit, your arrow's only doing 1d6 damage, and they have
Right.
3 + 1 hit dice,
Yeah,
so
you
they have
have a
to be
bad
hit three
problem for
times.
sure.
Right? You've got a problem. So if you see more than one or two of these things coming at you, you're running. Like here's where I was going with the DM rolls a 6. Right? When that happens and you get warned, because later on we're going to see that they start adding things like, oh, the stench of death, and whatever, the sound of clicking feet and whatever, like, get warns you, right?
Hmm.
Those things are important because once you're warned and you see there's more than one of them, because one of them, we might be able to take it, guys. Let's go. Let's try to make a plan. We'll always make sure that two of us are not at its head end so that we don't have any chance of being paralyzed, and we'll kill it, right? You can survive one, maybe, right? If you have good dice rolls. But you're not going to survive three, four, five, six of these things. So the only answer is, oh, we saw them enough of a far distance away that we can go the other direction without them knowing. We are just not going to face that challenge. We know now that we can't go down in that area because there are 6 carrion crawlers down there.
Yeah.
That's the right answer. There's no other answer. It's not it's a tough challenge, right? It's just not possible.
Yeah, yeah. It's a death sentence, not a tough
Right.
challenge.
It's a
And
death
like,
sentence.
you know, find some other solution. Like, I don't care what it is. Poison sacks you can drop
Right.
in there. Cool, love it.
Yep.
Great idea.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Something else.
Uh,
Yeah.
like, oh,
So,
you have alchemist fire. Nailed it.
mhm, mhm. Right. Yeah. Find a mass way to extinct those things. Right.
Yep.
Like that's what you have to do. Yeah. So let's take a look at what the red box mincer basic Beckme does with the carrion crawler, and you're going to see something that looks very similar. Armor class 7, hit dice the same, movement the same, attacks the same, damage the same. Number appearing now is 1 to 4. So it
Hmm.
changed from it went from 1 to 6 to 1 to 3, and now it's 1 to 4. The fighter saves is the same, morale is the same. It now gives an XP value. When we look at the description, it's basically the same. 9 feet long, 3 feet high, many-legged, worm-like creature. It moves on the floor, walls, and ceilings, has 8 tentacles, 2 inches long. The number of tentacles has never changed, right? It paralyzes. You need to make a save versus paralysis.
Hmm.
It makes it explicit. A tentacle hit does no actual damage. Once paralyzed, a victim will be eaten. Unless magically cured, the paralysis will wear off in 2 to 8 turns. So basically the same as BX, right? This is just Spec Me. So all they did was really port it over.
Hmm.
Um, but it does give you one more bit of information. Carrion crawlers are not normally found outside of dungeons.
Hmm. Hmm. And that's interesting. Um, that says something about the world. I'm not sure what it says about the world, but it says
Right.
something.
It says only a
Like,
tiny bit about the ecology of what's happening here.
I guess I genuinely would have expected that, in a D&D world, carrion crawlers are just another one of the beasts of battle, right? Sort
Hmm.
of, you're raven, you're wolf, you're carrion crawler. Good game. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I mean, I feel like so it's very interesting because I see what you're saying. Um, the thing is that reducing it to only be to never being outside of a dungeon. So here's the thing, right? I kind of see that from an ecological perspective. They probably would not be able to survive very well in a bigger environment like a forest,
Hmm,
because even though
okay.
there's a lot of dead stuff in a forest, there are already a lot of creatures that are scavengers and that eat all that stuff. And that's a
I
pretty solid ecology anyway. The carrion crawler is really huge.
I sort of like their chances against most forest creatures, including scavengers. See previous about all them paralytic tentacles.
Right, but
Like
I'm not
that's
talking
a
but
big competitive advantage.
right, but I'm not talking about vultures. I'm talking about bacteria,
Sure, but
right?
presumably there's bacteria in a dungeon. I mean,
Right, right. No, but the back
dungeon sanitation is a
yeah,
matter of later generations.
yeah, that's true.
Like
I'm just yeah, I'm
I'm not
just
trying
thinking
to I'm not trying to
no,
like
no. No, no,
critique
no.
seriously. You're just
No, 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 no. No. But what I'm thinking is, it's not a matter of competition. I have no doubt they could outcompete the other items, but they would have to eat so much dead leaf litter and
sure,
so many dead little
sure,
caterpillars and grubs and
sure,
right.
sure, sure.
I think they
Right.
would decimate the area and the entire ecosystem would collapse, is kind of what I'm saying. It's not about whether they could outcompete the vultures and the bacteria and the whatever. Whereas
Okay,
in the
so
dungeon, there's no ecosystem there to collapse in the same way because it's all stone.
sure, but like what we have is a situation where dungeons are centers of functionally dead megafauna.
Right.
That's
Right.
interesting.
Yes, you're
I
right.
I don't mind that. It's just an
Yeah,
interesting, like,
right.
one of us is a biologist here, and it's not the one speaking right now. Uh, but like
But we're also talking about a fantasy game, so
we're
I
talking
like
about a
we're
fantasy
yeah,
game,
this is
but
yeah,
it's an interesting piece of world building if you commit to it all the way,
right.
right? And
Yep.
like you can go a lot of directions with it, and I'm sure people have. I don't have a Dragon Magazine Ecology of the Carrion Crawler. I would bet cash money more than one was written over the many years of Dragon Magazine because Ecology of the whatever was a very popular series that
Yeah, let's find out.
they published with great consistency. Um, but you could make interesting conclusions about what dungeons are in the world on the strength of that one line, were you so inclined.
The last thing to look at before we get beyond the basics is the cyclopedia, which was the last sort of published item um, in basic D&D in the basic D&D line. So let's take a look here. Let me adjust this view and see what it says. It says armor class 7, same. Hit dice the same. It does tell you that it's a large creature now. Movement 120, same. And now the attacks are 8 tentacles or 1 bite.
Oh, nice.
The
Yeah, yeah.
tentacles paralyze. The bite does damage, but only 1 point. The number appearing stayed at 1d4. The save fighter 2, that's the same. Morale's the same. Treasure type's the same. It has no intelligence. Neutral and XP value is the same.
Yeah.
Monster type, they're calling it a low life, a common creature. The scavenger, 9 feet long. Same description. I'm not going to read it to you again. Uh, 8 tentacles, 2 feet long. Saving throw versus paralysis. Tentacle hit does no actual damage. Here's where the additional information is. Carrion crawlers are known as scavengers, eating the remains of slain animals, but they are also willing to go after fresh meat. They will attack small parties of travelers, paralyzing their prey, and will eat paralyzed victims in 3 turns unless in 3 turns. 3 turns, so 30 minutes. Remember I
Hey,
said if you rolled a 2, you could have survived that one, right?
but like, I love that they're answering the question. That makes me so happy.
Yep, exactly. So they'll eat paralyzed victims in 3 turns unless except when the carrion crawlers are being attacked. So that's a weird wording, but unless they get attacked, they're going to keep eating. Unless magically cured, the paralysis will wear off in 2d4 turns. So same paralysis length, so same length of the affliction as we saw in the Beckme, right? And in BX, right? Remember, Holmes and OD&D didn't have any duration, right? And here it gives us a terrain, caverns, and ruins. Um, so now we have even expanded this more. Okay, so now we know what happens. They eat right away after you've paralyzed, as long as you're not still fighting. Okay, and it only takes them 3 turns to devour the body. All right, let's see what happened in the 1E monster manual. The 1E monster manual. Now there's a whole lot more information. The number appearing is back to 1 to 6. Let me see. What was the rule cyclopedia? It's 1d4. Okay, the 1E, it's back to 1d6, number appearing. It's uncommon. Armor class is back to being 3/7, so the head is 3 and the body is 7.
Yep.
Movement's the same, hit dice the same. Percent in layer is 10% lower than it was in OD&D, but that was not applied to later descriptions. Treasure type B, that's the same. 8 attacks. Paralysis is the damage, which is 0, but paralysis. Um, no special magical resistance or no special defense. Non-intelligent, neutral. It's a large-sized creature. No psionic ability. Okay, here's where it starts talking with the description. Carrion crawlers strongly resemble a cross between a giant green cutworm and a huge cephalopod. Okay, so let me paint this picture for you. A green cutworm, people, is a caterpillar. That's all it is. Okay, it's like a moth caterpillar.
Okay,
And
that's good
a
to know.
huge,
It stops me
a,
looking it up.
yeah, a huge cephalopod is a squid. So basically, what it's saying is it's a caterpillar. It's an enormous caterpillar with a squid head, or a caterpillar head but with a squid mouth, with squid tentacles. I guess is the way to
Yep.
say it. Okay, they're found in subterranean areas. As its name implies, it's a scavenger, but that does not preclude aggressive attacks on living creatures because that ensures a constant supply of corpses. So they're conglomerating everything, but then they add something right here that's really gross but fascinating. The carrion crawler is, as its name implies, a scavenger, but this does not preclude aggressive attacks upon living creatures, for that ensures a constant supply of corpses, that's from prior, upon which to feed or for deposit of eggs.
Mm-hmm.
The head of the monster is well protected, but its body is only armor class 7. That's how I knew back before when I said 3-7, that means, or 3/7 means the head's 3, and this is how I knew because I had already read the 1E monster manual because
That's right. That's right.
that was my main game for a long time. So the
Because
head
you
is
exist as a time
right.
traveler.
That's right. I'm a time traveler. It moves quite rapidly on multiple legs despite its bulk. Can climb on walls, ceilings, and floors. Each of the beast's feet are equipped with sharp claws that hold it fast. That's how it tells us now how it's able to climb on walls and ceilings. Um, the head is equipped with 8 tentacles, which flail at prey. Each is 2 feet long. It excludes a gummy secretion, which, when fresh, will paralyze opponents. In other words, so that's interesting, right?
Hmm.
When fresh. What that means is you can come across a dead one and touch it and not get paralyzed.
Unless it's still kind of fresh.
Right, unless it's fresh, right? But that's one of those. So if you're going to try to harvest parts, you can not have to worry about getting accidentally paralyzed, right?
That's right.
Um, Save versus paralyzation. As there are so many tentacles with which to hit, and thus multiple chances of being paralyzed, these monsters are greatly feared. No.
That seems pretty justified.
Mm-hmm,
You're gonna have a bad time.
mm-hmm. So what's interesting, here's the thing is these creatures are fascinating from a biological perspective. So of course I love them, right? But also from a dungeoneering perspective, it's like, what the crap is that, right? This is a very fascinating creature. It's really, really interesting. And it's something that is very iconic because it's so flippin' difficult. Like, this is not something to mess around with, no
Yep.
matter what level you are. Because, when you think about being, a lot of time, I think when I how do I say this? If I compare this to a more modern sensibility, in a modern sensibility, right? This is one of those creatures that sort of highlights the difference between the modern gaming, modern D&D sensibility and the sort of old school D&D sensibility. Because in a modern sensibility, fights are more fair, right? And I
Yeah.
don't mean that in a derogatory manner. I just mean when you are in an encounter, there is an expectation that either you can best the opponent with your skills and items and brains, right? Or you can evaluate the circumstance on an ongoing basis and figure out that you need to leave because there's some reason why you can't best them. But while you're figuring that out, it's a pretty fair fight. Like, you're not just going to get immediately curb stomped and you're done, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But in old school, if you're not being careful, you're just going to get curb stomped and you're done because you turn the corner, you're not paying attention, you run into one of these, and then you roll surprise. Turns out you're surprised and it's not. It now gets 8 attacks on you and you're paralyzed. You're done.
Yeah.
There was
And, and
there's nothing, right?
and I do think there's a lot of unstated, like, how to GM this in a way that is kind of fair. Like
Oh yeah,
how
yeah. Yes.
that's
Yeah.
like going unstated. We've covered the first ed DMG. It
Right.
doesn't talk about how to turn that kind of dungeon crawling into fun. It just assumes.
Right. Right. It assumes that you understand the unspoken rules of the game, right?
Yeah.
And in almost nowhere does it ever tell anyone the unspoken rules. You have to have a good
Well,
DM who is willing to let you learn those rules and not just curb stomp you every time,
right.
right?
And we know anecdotally that that was not consistent.
Right. Right. And definitely not consistent, which is actually partly what results in the evolution of the game, right?
That's
That's
right.
part of
That's
it.
right.
But yeah, but from this perspective, right? Every time we iterate this creature and we've gotten here to only to the 1E monster manual and it's been iterated a lot, but the stats haven't really changed and it doesn't do any damage, right? Most other creatures that were really scary, it's because they could do so much damage at one time that you're done, right? Like a dragon. You don't not fight a dragon because it's going to paralyze you, right?
Yeah.
You don't fight the dragon. I said a double negative last one. You don't avoid the dragon because it's going to paralyze you. You avoid the dragon because it's going to claw bite and breathe on you and then you're done, right? It's going to do so much damage that there's no return. This carrion crawler doesn't do any damage.
Yep.
So it's fascinating how that kind of creature can evoke such fear, and it just shows you the power of something like paralysis, even in an edition where in like the basics where cure light wounds and here cure light wounds could heal you of that paralysis if you've got someone who is still alive that can cast that spell. Um, Otherwise, this thing can completely mess up your world, right?
Yep.
So
I
that's
mean,
1E.
really very easily. I can't
Oh
emphasize
yeah.
this enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my OSC game right now, I have three of my PCs are sixth level.
Woo.
The highest hit point count is 28.
Sure. Sure.
and that's a 6th level fighter,
I mean, yeah,
right?
contextually, that's a lot of hit points.
I mean, in OSE, that's a lot of hit points. So in basic D&D, that's a lot of hit points. But those hit points do not protect you from paralysis, right?
Right. That's right.
They still have to roll like it's relatively low now. I think their save versus paralysis is like 11 or 12, maybe
Hmm.
13 at this point,
Hmm. Yeah.
which that's low, but it's not that low. I mean, it's real easy to roll a 2 on a D20, right? I mean, like this is by no means a done deal now that they're 6th level.
That's
Like
right.
this thing could still take them out, no problem. Because it's 8 attack. If this was one attack, if this was a carrion crawler with one big tentacle sticking out the front of its face, everybody would laugh at it. Because it'd get one attack and then all the PCs would get to do things. And even if it paralyzed that one person, right? But
Yeah.
since it has 8 tentacles,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's insane. You're not gonna like there's no competing with that. So let's look at the evolution. And I've been purposely talking about the art in here. So there's new art in this 1E monster manual. Um, and when we look at the 2E entry, there's also new art. This
Yep.
is the entry that looks the most like a some kind of like larval grub kind of thing,
Yep. And
which
so the 2E one, 2E was my first edition, and of
mhm,
course, this is the one that is sort of that I recall and like is the first thing I think of
right,
when we talk about carrion crawlers.
right. And I always think of big green caterpillar
Yeah.
with squid tentacles, right?
Yep. Eats its way through an apple, right? And then
It's its way through an apple,
then a slice
right?
of pie, and it's just not
Yep.
making good
I
dietary
know.
decisions.
It's still hungry. I don't know.
I think Eric
Yeah.
Carl's trying to warn us, is what I think he's
He
attempting.
was. Yes, yes. But if you called it Hungry Hungry Carrion Crawler, I don't think it would have been the mega smash hit that it was.
Mm, I think parents need to understand that their kids have to learn these right lessons early.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. So here's the changes. The changes initially other than the art is um just the way that the 2E monstrous manual presents creatures, right? It gives you a climate terrain first. But none of this has really changed, right? It's subterranean, it's an uncommon frequency, it's basically solitary. That's kind of a change, but look at the number appearing.
Yep. Very
Number
very
appearing is still
familiar.
1 to 6,
One to
right?
six.
Yeah. So even though it's solitary, that just means that it doesn't actually rely on others to form a society around it, other carrion crawlers, to actually have a competent life. It can just be by itself.
Yeah.
Um, it's a carnivorous creature that does not uh, spend more time during the day or night, right? That's what activity cycle any means. Intelligence non. It's always been non-intelligent. It's been very like bug-like. Okay.
Hmm.
Treasure type's the same. Alignment's the same. Number appearing we just said is the same. Armor class back to the 3/7. Movement's the same. Hit dice the same. The Thaco is 17, which is actually the same. It's just they didn't call it Thaco before. Number of attacks 1 or 8, which we'll learn about in the combat section, but I know what that means. Basically, that's the 8 tentacles or the one mouth bite, right?
Right.
Um, Damage per attack, special or 1 to 2. The special is the paralysis. The 1 to 2 is the bite attack. Special attack paralysis, no magical defenses, no special magical resistance. Large creature, morale is special, and the XP is much larger than it was, at least in basic D&D. In basic D&D, it was 75 XP. Here it's 420. I don't remember what it was in 1E. I'd have to look up the tables in the DMG. Um, all right. So, also, as you know, or maybe you don't, dear listener, the 2E Monstrous Manual was a tour de force of providing us with a description that's more descriptive. That sounds redundant, but you understand what I mean. A description of how it combats, a description of how it fights. That is, what are its combat tactics? A description of its habitat and society, and a description of the ecology in which it lives. And So that's why the Monsters Manual had like 1 page per creature because it needed all that space for all that text. Whereas in all the other previous listings, this creature was one little piece of 1 page. Here
Hmm.
it gets its whole own glorious page.
And I mean, it is a ton of detail. Um, we may be talking about a Dragon Magazine article in a moment, but I mean, this is the, the better part of the length of an article as is.
Right. Yep. It adds some stuff too. So it tells us it's the same kind of stuff as before. Subterranean areas, it feeds primarily on carrion, but it can attack and kill living creatures. When food becomes scarce, that's a difference, right? When food
Yep.
is scarce, now it'll attack a living creature. Um, Now it tells us same thing about its looks: giant green cutworm and a cephalopod put together. Um, and then it points out something for the first time. Like so many other hybrid monsters, the carrion crawler may well be the result of genetic experimentation by a mad, evil wizard.
A
Did
wizard
it
did
say
it.
that?
There we
Did it?
go.
Yeah,
No,
did it say
that's
that
the
in
first
the
time we've seen
first
that one.
E?
Not at all.
Because
That's
1E was very fond of doing that. For example, I think it says that about the owl bear. Let me check. If I
oh, no
recall
doubt.
correctly, let me see. Owl bear.
Yep.
The
Insane wizard.
horrible
First line.
owlbear is probably the result of genetic experimentations by some insane wizard. See, they took that, and people like that as a reason for
Yeah.
these weird creatures. So they've taken it and now they're applying it to the Carrion Crawler. This is the first time, though, in second edition, it's the first time they're applying that. And that carries through into third edition and fourth edition, and I don't remember if it carries into fifth edition.
That's right.
The monster's head, covered in a tough hide, it gives it a lower armor class of 3. It has 8 slender, writhing tentacles. The body of it is not well protected, so armor class of 7. It's accompanied by a rank, fetid odor, which often gives warning of its approach. So here is the first time. This is why the 2E Monstrous Manual is so good, because this is not only a clue to the players reading it, it is a way to tell DMs how to provide telegraphing clues to your players
That's
that
right.
this thing is around. Because that is not in any of the previous descriptions, right? Of course, I mentioned it earlier because I knew I've read these descriptions, but the assumption here is players are also reading this.
Hmm.
Prior editions, there was no in prior let me say this in prior editions the assumption was the opposite, that players were not reading the DM's material. Here in 2E, the assumption is maybe they are, maybe they aren't. The DM definitely is, but maybe the players aren't, but a lot of them are also, because a lot of them are also DMs.
Sure.
So when you read this, even if you're a player, you now have a clue. So if your DM tells you, oh, well, there's this rank, horrible, fetid odor, right? And then you can start asking questions. Ooh, does it smell like musty, like undead, dry, musty kind of stuff, or does it smell like garbagey, rotting things stuff? Like those are two different types of smells. And if you ask the question very well and you needle your DM, they might actually give it to you. Especially if you have uh, had encounters with these before, right?
I will just come out strongly in favor of like signposting things to your players so
Yep.
that they don't need to needle you, but can
Well, I was being
get some.
facetious, but
Well, right. I just like I run a lot of investigative content,
mm-hmm. Right,
and I am actively trying to like give the player something to go on and
right.
you know help them look for the clues that will get them
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. This is no exception. This is a great set of cues to look to.
Right. I do the same thing. In OSE, there's no perception skill in OSE, right?
Yeah, that would drive me
So,
nuts.
except the thing is, it's actually better, right? Because if my
Sure.
player says, I'm going to look at that desk, I tell them everything they see in the desk.
Yeah, I do appreciate the tension moment of a roll uh for that kind of thing, right? But that's me and what I'm used to because
Yeah. If
I've
it's
run
an
the editions of
investi
the game I've run.
I mean, if it's an investigation, then it makes sense that you want that tension to be there. But if they're dungeon crawling and they walk into a room and it looks like an office and you tell them, what's there, what they see when the door opens, right? And there's a desk and a cabinet and a shelf and there are three chairs and the walls have paint frescoes on them. Then they each go, okay, ooh, I'm going to go look at this. I'm going to go look at that. I'm going to go look at this. I'm going to go look at that. And then I tell them each, oh, here's what you see, right? Here's what you find. And then there are also the players that say, okay, well, now that we've looked at the desk, I'm going to check for any secret drawers or any false bottoms and things like that. And then they can find more, right? But you don't have to roll.
Yeah,
They just do it.
sure,
And
sure.
the tension there is whether they have enough time and whether they remember to ask that. It's not about whether they find the thing, right? That's not related to a dice roll. So it's just different expectations. I mean, if I was
Yeah.
running an investigate, like I run the Star Wars game, right, and it's relatively investigative,
Hmm.
um, and they're rolling all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Because that's how that system is set up. So I'm not anti like perception rolls or whatever. I'm just although I don't
No,
like
that's
them in
fine.
my D&D, but that's.
Hey,
But so here's the thing. I'm not going to read the whole ecology thing to you, but I will tell you that they mention the eggs again. So down at the bottom of the first column, the
gross.
car the
Gross.
carrion the carrion crawler mates once a year. Several days after mating, the female goes off in search of a large kill. When she has found or killed an adequate food supply, she lays about 100 eggs among the carrion. The grubs hatch a week later and begin feeding.
It's gross.
So disgusting, but it warms the cockles of my little biologist heart.
Well, it's just a lot of specificity in what you can expect
Right,
on a timeline if you have
right,
lost a comrade in the dungeon.
right, right. And
Well, it's been 6 days. The grubs can still
right,
be burned out
right,
of his rotting husk. Oh
right.
God.
or
So,
or or like the idea of, oh, we just walked into this room and it is this enormous, like, you know it's basically this huge like egg incubator. And can we estimate how long these eggs have been growing, and do we know how much time we have to be able to go get some Molotov cocktails so that we can have enough to throw in there and completely kill them all, because we need to make sure they don't hatch before we get back, right?
no, that's gross. Don't like it.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. Also, they're cannibals. These creatures, they're cannibalistic, which is really gross.
Yeah.
It does tell us about the ecology later on. Um, it compares them to jackals, vultures, and crows, because jackals, vultures, and crows are also scavengers. Uh, and it
I
tells
unfortunately
you,
never had an egg laid in me by a jackal.
right? No, that's true. It says
Oh,
so many other predators, carrion crawlers instinctively prey on the weak, sick, and foolish, right? So the weak, sick, and foolish. So this is the lesson. Um, In the long run, this has a beneficial effect on the prey because it strengthens its gene pool. The carrion crawler also works wonders in overcrowded caverns, quickly eliminating population problems among the weaker monsters. Thus, the life cycle of the carrion crawler is inextricably linked to those of its prey. When the prey flourishes, so does the crawler. That is a basic
hmm.
biology lesson if I've ever taught one.
Yep. Yeah,
So
it's
well done.
avoiding population collapse, but
Yes. Right.
also um,
Right.
it's odd how the prey doesn't appreciate this.
Right. Well, yeah, it never does though, right? Um, but this is actually very well done, because that is a very brief examination of what actually happens when you have a predator prey interaction, right?
Yep.
And the notice what it doesn't say. It says, when the prey flourishes, so does the crawler. But you know what happens when the prey doesn't flourish? Neither does the crawler.
Yep.
That's exactly what happens with snowshoe hares and lynx.
Hmm.
They have a cycle. and they follow each other. And when one of them is when the prey, the hare, is doing well, the lynx end up doing well shortly thereafter.
That's
And
right.
when the prey, when the snowshoe hare population collapses, so does the lynx population. So they rely on each other in this weird, ecological way. And so they did a good job describing what's the point of the carrion crawler here. They probably could have done without the preface of all the egg crap, but it's still good. It's still good for me. I love it. It hits that
Sure. And
perfect nasty note.
right, I don't actually object to it at all.
Hmm.
Like there's plenty in the second ed monsters manual that is uh more socially squicky, and I'm fine with this merely
Hmm.
biologically squicky, whatever.
Right, right. Yep. One that is socially squicky is actually what it says about um, some trolls and other creatures, orcs and such, actually capturing prisoners and then chaining them outside where they know a carrion crawler to lair so that it can keep that carrion crawler busy and happy, which
Mm.
is
Hmm.
very bad. Yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty gruesome. Yeah. So, yep. All right. So that's 2E. So there is, so that was, that's in the Monstrous Manual, which was, what was that, 1999? Or 1997? I don't know.
Oh,
Hell.
no, no.
1991. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Right.
that book was out in
1991. Yeah.
93 when I started
Way,
for
way.
sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, because the folio with
Yeah.
the three hole punched ones. So it was in that too. But the actual bound Monstrous Manual, 1993, right? In 2000, so 7 years later, there is a Dragon magazine that has the Dragon ecology article in it, the ecology of the carrion crawler. So the thing about this article is it's
It's mostly fiction.
it's fiction from the point of view of a person that had an encounter with a carrion crawler, right?
Yeah.
But then the footnotes of it,
Yeah. Extensively footnoted. I cannot emphasize this
right?
enough.
But it has this interesting thing because the footnotes are where all of the actual information is. For example, it says most worlds inhabited by illithids also house carrion crawlers. It's believed that the mind flayers actively raise them as they do amorphs, fungi, and other dangerous creatures. Further details on that relationship between carrion crawlers and illithids can be found in a different article, which is in Dragon Magazine 150. So that's a very interesting, two sort of things with tentacles on their faces, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, all of the footnotes, that's the thing about this article. The article is fiction, but the footnotes tell you what the fiction is referring to.
Right. I mean, the suggestion of, oh, this is something that's undergone seramorphosis, is sort of an available interpretation of the
Right.
like cranial tentacle situation.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I do kind of like that. Like what you can see in this article is someone who like cared about biology and wanted to bring a bunch of real world biological terminology into the game, right?
Right. Yes.
Uh,
For example, they talk about the spermatophores
yep,
that,
that's what I'm
that the
getting at
female
right there.
uses to fertilize the eggs. Yes. Yeah, very yes.
Yeah. And this definitely like is a light expansion um on the monsters manual content. And that's
Yeah,
exactly what you want from a 2E era ecology of article. Like
right.
that's what they're offering.
Right. Well, so here's what's interesting about this too is that when we talk about the way that it talks about laying the eggs in the corpse and all that, you think of, okay, most creatures, especially ones that have some sort of insectoid appearance, kind of like this has, like the centipede legs and whatnot, it feels kind of like insectoid. Those things use an ovipositor that is on the back of their body, right? The behind, the posterior side of their body to
Hmm.
oviposit the eggs, right?
Yep.
But this article tells us that um, the males put these blobs of spermatophores, okay, around where they travel. And then the females come along and they store them in a buccal cavity, which is their mouth, okay? And then when they deposit the eggs, they're actually depositing them. They grasp them with their front legs and they sort of guide them out with their tentacles to lay them.
So much. It's so much
It's
detail.
it is also very disgusting, but awesome, but so much detail. That's in the footnotes, people. It's like 8-point font
Hmm.
in the bottom of the article. It's great. I love it. I love it. I'm making fun of it, but I love it. This is the kind of thing I, of course, love. Um,
No, like
but
like if you're going to go to the not insignificant effort that it takes to get this sort of read into the record of your game,
mhm,
and put in front of the players and like have them made aware of it, then it's great. But it is a lift,
it
right?
is a lift.
To put
It
some of this on camera,
Yeah.
and
This
also to have access to this while you need it.
Right.
Like,
And this is the kind of thing where you're describing an entire scene of a bunch of things happening at once. Some of the scene is female carrion crawlers like ovipositing the eggs with their tentacles and front legs. Some of them some of the scene is, the eggs bursting open a week later. You know what I mean? Like it's the whole scene of the entire life cycle and then a massive hive of these things just with with illithids overseeing the growth and care of these disgusting creatures, right? Like it's a massive undertaking to get all of that in. I'm not sure how other than actually making it so that the party stumbles upon like the quote unquote carrion crawler homeworld, right? Like the the hive that has just so many in it that you can't miss a single cycle, a single part of the life cycle. I don't know how you would ever have anyone get exposed to every single part of this life cycle. Like you would have to be very specific about making sure that wherever the party was in whatever dungeon they were in, there was enough clues that they kept seeing the different remnants and evidence of these different pieces happening. And I don't know how
yeah,
you
that's
could
right.
do that if you're also running the game and have all those other things going on that are going on when you're running a game, right? Like,
Okay, so for the sake of argument,
mhm,
for the sake of argument, the way you do that is you have a sage hire them to find this crap out,
right, sure, yeah, and take
right?
notes and have to
You
write a
straight up
manuscript
make it
about
the
it. Yeah.
adventure, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Without making the carrion crawler the feature of the
Yeah,
adventure or of the
that's right.
quest or whatever, then you don't spend time on it because it doesn't generally behoove a person to spend time focusing on all the details of a creature that's not really the main event, right?
That's right.
You can get details here and there, little snippets that are kind of cool and make for an immersive world or whatever, but you don't do all of it, right? Unless that's the main event, unless that's the main creature feature for that arc of the adventure or whatever. Which I am not opposed to. I really want to make carrion crawlers the main
Yeah,
arc.
yeah, yeah. Uh, like
Um,
it could be a really interesting, uh, low to mid-level adventure. Like,
mhm,
okay, we're mid-level. We can definitely kill these, but that breaks the whole adventure if we do.
right.
Like, that's our fail condition. That's pretty interesting. It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Very interesting. So that article, that's in Dragon number 267, January 2000. So that was 7 years after the 2E Monstrous Manual. And the third edition and 3.5 edition Monster Manual 1 have the Carrion Crawler in it. I happen to be looking at the 3.5 edition. And of course, 3.5 is very different from any of the previous editions. So let's look a little bit at these stats. And you're the 3.5 3.0
Yeah, yeah,
aficionado. So
yeah.
you might be able to give a lot more insight to these what these stats mean here.
Okay, so right at the gate, I'm going to say 19 hit points in a CR4 is really shockingly low.
Okay.
And the point of that being where it is paralysis is awfully bad for you. But like in a CR4, um, seeing an attack bonus of +3, like it's very much about the fact that it's going to be attacking 8 times.
8 times. Yeah.
Uh, but
Yep.
there's a movement trick in there where uh, for it to do all that, it can't have also moved up to you this turn other than a 5 foot step, right?
Right.
So you could just eat one opportunity attack every round, and this never gets its 8 attacks on you,
Right.
right?
And the
And,
reason for
and
that for the reason for that for the audience is that the attack is one tentacle,
oh, I have to look
right?
up combat reflexes
And
again. I'm sorry.
and the full attack is 8 tentacles and a bite. But to do a full attack, right? That's what you mean when it cannot move. If it does a full attack, that means it takes its whole turn to do that, right? In third edition.
Yeah, so uh, it actually does get to make multiple opportunity attacks potentially because of combat reflexes. Um,
Okay. So
so
you might get a few swings at it as it comes up to you because it can't really do a full attack unless it's right next to you, right? Or
yeah,
unless it's within range, right?
right.
Um,
So
because the
so
regular
yeah,
attack with one tentacle, it doesn't it can move and do that, right? In
right.
third edition, it could
But
take a
like
move and then do an attack, but not a full turn attack.
yeah. But that +3 attack bonus is not scary at TR4.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
like unless you're first level characters and you haven't even gotten sort of the most basic improvements to your armor yet, that's
Right.
it's probably not going to land. The if you could scroll
But
a little bit so I could see the DC of the uh, fort save on that paralysis. A little bit
does
more,
it
a little bit
say
more. Combat.
DC 13?
DC 13. So a DC 13 is uh very normal, right, for
Mm-hmm.
uh this CR band. It's not terrifying, but it's sure not
Right.
a done deal either. Your fighters,
Right.
fortunately, are gonna have the best chance,
Right.
right? Your melee
And
types are
if
gonna have
you're
good fort.
but if you're having to make that save, if they're making 8 attacks, that plus
Oh yeah,
three melee is not the one attack with a +3 at CR4 is not, this is what you're saying, right? It's not a big deal.
yeah,
But if they get to make all 8 of them plus a
yeah,
bite,
yeah, yeah. That bomber's getting through. You have
there's
a
a
bad
problem.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And the bite at -2. That is not landing. We can go ahead and say, unless they roll the natural 20, that's not landing.
Right. Well, it's landing if you're paralyzed.
Right. Exactly.
Now
It's there to explain how they
yeah.
eat you at all.
Right.
Right.
So the space slash reach, 10 foot, 5 foot. 10 foot
Uh-huh.
is with the space it takes up, and
Right.
5 feet
Yeah.
is how close you have to be to attack, or how close
How
it has to
close it
be,
has to be to attack you?
right,
Yeah.
to attack you. Okay.
It doesn't
So
have any reach,
it
but
doesn't
it's a
have
10 by
reach.
10
It's
square.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and so like I didn't see a lot of these in use in
Hmm.
the 3.5 3.5 games I played. Um, like it promises to be kind of a frustrating and not super fun fight.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's honestly kind of the offer
Right.
because uh, like the DM has to roll 8 attacks, all at a crummy attack bonus, and each resulting in a saving throw. Come on now, that
Right.
is that's 16 dice rolls potentially. Like
Yeah.
if the DM lands a hit for each one, that's triggers another 8 dice rolls. Come on. Like no nobody
Yeah.
wants that.
Right.
That's a bad experience, and we're gonna sort of see that as the trend.
Yeah.
Um,
So what does alertness do for this creature?
oh, that's a skill bonus to listen and spot.
Does it so it basically tries to make it so it can't be surprised? Is that the idea?
Uh, yeah, it's gonna be harder to surprise, right?
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so +2 to listen and spot is what alertness does.
Okay.
Um, it's like they have to assign it feats. Everything has feats, and this thing
Right.
has, 3 hit dice,
Hmm.
so it got feats. That alertness
Yeah.
is tagged as a bonus feat, right? Um, and so like what you're looking at in that feats line is the just grinding misery of
Right.
third ed monster design, right?
Right.
Of okay, I have to dig through 587 feats and find
Right.
ones that are okay for this monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is my fun now. Um, but the advancement with 4 to 6 hit dice and 7 to 9 hit dice for larger sizes is, you know, is an interesting addition here.
Right.
Um,
Well, and that means this is the first time that this creature is presented as two possible different sizes.
that's right. That's right. Um, and you like the game has its own math that it's happy to teach you for
Hmm. Hmm.
how a bunch of things should increase as a result of those hit die increases. Uh, but mostly what it's going to do is improve the attack bonus and hit points. Um, it will also grant more feats that you've then got to go sort out. It's going to improve saving throws that you've got to go sort out.
Right.
And the rate of improvement in all of those is all linked to it being an aberration. I don't remember how good or bad aberration uh, rate gains are, right?
Hmm. So let me ask you this. So the base attack bonus is +2.
Uh-huh.
What's the grapple +8? What does that mean?
Uh, that means that uh, when it's making grapple checks, it's coming at you with a +8,
Okay,
and
so it's good
that's
at grappling, is what
oh
that
yeah,
means.
oh yeah,
Okay.
it's real good at grappling, um, and that's gonna have something to do with strength. I don't remember how it's all
Hmm.
calculated. I have not really played in this sandbox
Sure, sure.
since
Yeah. Yeah.
2007.
Right. And that's not
Oh
necessary. I
no.
was just trying to
Yeah,
get an
yeah,
idea of, because here's the thing, right? If we compare this, the hit dice 3, right?
yeah.
That's actually comparable to, the
Mhm,
previous editions.
mhm.
Initiative, we don't worry about. Speed is slower than previous editions.
Right,
Armor class is comparable.
right,
Uh, the 8 tentacles, that's the same. Paralysis, that's the same. Um, and then so organization, solitary, pair, or cluster. So that tells you, right? It shows up either one of them, two of them, or 3 to 5 of them, which is
sure.
your 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 6 kind of,
Yeah,
it's always neutral. That's always been, and then level adjustment, none. So let's look at the description then and see if that has changed. So the sort of flavor text says the stink of rotten meat surrounds this multi-legged creature with a segmented 10-foot long body. 8 writhing tentacles protrude from its head, growing directly from below its clacking mandibles and tooth-filled maw. Now, that's different because previously it never talked about the thing having teeth, although it was kind of implied because it eats you. But it also never talked about it having clacking mandibles.
hmm
And when you look at the image, it's actually a different kind of mouth construction than was implied by the previous images of this creature.
yep,
Because when we look down at the image, I know people who are listening, I apologize, but this image has a wide mouth with lots of fang like teeth And on the sides of its lower jaws, it has these big mandible, bony like structures. Okay. Those were not existent on any of the other. So that's new for this edition, which is very interesting to me how they sort of elaborated this creature to make it slightly different that way. Also, it has two eye stalks coming out with eyes on them.
Yep, yep. And I mean, it's not escaping those charges of looking like a very hungry caterpillar at all.
No, it's not, which is really funny at the same time. But it does. It's very interesting to me that it in this picture the tentacles come from below where the mouth is, and in all the other depictions of this creature, including the Dragon magazine depiction, the tentacles are around the mouth,
Yep,
right? Coming out of them. You can't even see the mouth, and there are no big chomping mandible pieces. Um, there's just tentacles that you
yep.
see.
Yeah, the angle of the shot
So,
is always more side on
right,
than in this direct
right.
on
And
shot.
here it's direct on. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, very interesting that they chose to do that. That's definitely a
Well,
different kind of way,
yeah, I
right?
mean they're really actively trying to justify their bite damage decision, right?
Right.
I
Yep.
think is what's happening there.
Yep.
And like uh how do I make this a fun, engaging encounter? It is a challenge. Like
Right.
it is a challenge that the fundamentals of the encounter
Hmm.
have set for them. And so they're trying to put some of it on a normal, you know, accessible to players kind of uh, axiom. And oh, it
Right.
does bite damage is nice and easy to understand. It
Right. Right.
it has how many chances to paralyze me? I don't like that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Right.
again, it's just a bad experience at the table.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. In this description, it tells us how much a carrion crawler weighs, which is new as well. 500
Yeah.
pounds.
I mean, weighing in at
Um,
only 500 pounds for 10 feet long is
right.
okay,
That's a pretty
sure.
light creature. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, it tells us a lot of this. Oh, it continues the like so many hybrid monsters, the carrion crawler may well be the result of arcane experimentation,
sure.
right? So it dropped the genetic aspect, but it's basically still, you know, uh, multiple crawlers do not fight in concert, but each paralyzes as many opponents as possible. The unintelligent creature continues to attack as long as it faces any moving opponents. Yeah, so yeah, it's unfortunate that the way that third edition works forced them to create this stat block for this creature and
Yeah,
make it unfun,
yep.
right?
Well,
Because it,
and
it should still be a very fascinating, weird ass, scary creature, and
right.
it's just not.
Well, and uh, we're gonna look at the fifth edition versions pretty soon,
Right,
and the ways in which they solve this problem, I think, are to the credit of fifth edition as a user
right.
experience edition.
Hmm.
But
Well, so yeah,
let's hit fourth ed
yep. Let's
before
hit
we get
fourth.
there.
I have two entries for fourth.
Okay,
I have
okay.
the entry in the Monster Manual
Right,
1.
yeah. Oh my
Okay.
Lord.
And then there's an entry in the Monster Vault.
Level 7 controller, get wrecked.
Right. And then a 17, right? Elite
Right.
controller. So here's the thing. So of course, fourth edition sort of changed up the way that it depicts creatures and the way that the stat blocks are done, and also the way that it talks about the lore and how it, basically it the descriptions and the things that it says about the creature are basically the same, right? It's carrion eater, it eats the dead, it's an aggressive scavenger, it has paralyzing tentacles, it guards its food and attacks trespassers, it has no tactical sense, but instinctively focuses on one or two opponents at a time. Um, they only make bite attacks generally against those they've already like stunned with their tentacles. They might be the result of some mad wizard's experiment. They kept that, right? They feed on carrion. They lay their eggs in corpses or mounds of offal. When the eggs hatch, hundreds of baby crawlers come forth, right? So it's the same basic not really generic, but general idea of what a carrion crawler has been since the beginning. But
That's
when
right.
we look at the stat blocks, because of the way fourth edition works, right? Um, so the level 7 version of the carrion crawler is a large aberrant beast, okay? It has a standard speed, it's not fast, okay, which follows on with the third edition,
Hmm.
which had
Hmm.
its kind of standard basic speed. In this case, here's how the paralyzation works in fourth edition. Um, First of all, it has reach now, so it can actually attack things a little farther away than 5 feet. Um, it attacks their fortitude, and when you get hit, you take a little bit of damage, and you take ongoing 5 poison damage. So, and you're slowed, right? You get to save against that, right? Against both those effects. If you fail that save, now you're immobilized instead of slowed, and you get a chance to save against that effect, right? Right? And if you fail that save on the next time you get a chance to save, then you're stunned instead of immobilized, and then you get another chance to save against that, right? Oh no, no, target is stunned instead of immobilized, and then save ends, and you're just immobilized, right? So that's your paralyzed effect, right? Because you can't move. And of course, you make all your saves at -2. So, um, that's the way paralysis works in fourth. So, in other words, instead of just getting hit 8 times, right, and uh, and and being paralyzed, what happens
Hmm.
is it does one attack with its tentacles. The attack is
Right.
called tentacles as if it's more than one, right? But it's
Right.
one attack roll.
And again, much better experience.
Right, right. And you get 3 saves. So you get slowed, which isn't terribly horrible, and you take some damage, ongoing
Yep.
damage. And then if you save, you don't have to worry about that again unless you get hit again. Right? Then you just go on
Yep.
about your business. If you fail the save, now your effect gets slightly worse, but you still get another chance to save. And then if you fail the second save, your effect gets slightly worse, right? And then you're at the most worst effect level here, which is being immobilized, right?
Yep.
Um, and so the worst thing that can happen to you is being immobilized, right? And since you failed all those saves, this whole time you've also been taking 5 ongoing poison damage every time.
Right. Well, so the
Okay.
worst step is stunned, where not only do
Oh, right. Stunned. Sorry.
your
Yes.
legs
Stunned.
not
Right.
move,
Yes.
nothing else
Right.
moves either.
Right.
Stunned is absolutely awful in fourth.
Yeah. You're not doing anything.
Yep.
Literally, you're not doing anything.
You're just rolling
Yeah.
saves until you
Right.
get free.
Right.
And so by level 7, the odds that a leader in your party, don't be the leader in the party who's getting hit by the carrion crawler, pro tip. The leader in your party probably has a way to either boost your saves or give you extra shots at saving,
Hmm.
right? To try to get rid of
Right.
this effect. But
Right.
that standing -2 to saves is actually brutal
Right.
because there aren't a ton of bonuses to saves that you can just passively have. There's a few
Right.
items and some utility powers, but not a lot. So,
Right.
like,
Now.
this is a substantial problem. We're talking about, level 7, not
Right.
any level like 2, 3, 4. None of that nonsense.
Right. Right. Now, now that you've said that, let's look at the 17 level,
Yeah.
right? Uh, Enormous carrion crawler, that's its name, even
So,
though it's
so
huge in terms of size.
here's what we want to point out that just fourth edition was very committed to letting you reuse that aesthetic thing,
Hmm.
right, in some higher level way.
Right.
And like that might change up its combat role. It might either go from elite to normal or normal to minion or from normal to elite, as happens here,
Right.
right?
Right.
This is a much bigger and scarier monster.
Right.
Uh, I mean, this is the huge
Well,
version, right?
so right, and you mentioned the -2 penalty being brutal. This one, you take a -5 penalty to all
And
your
that's
saves.
right. And by 17th level, or the time you should be fighting something 17th level, uh, if you haven't in some way solved for uh, getting some bonuses to your saving throws, you had chances,
Right. Right.
right?
Now,
That's
yeah,
on
yeah, you
you at
get
that point.
chances. Yeah, right. Now, here's the other scary. There's two other scary things about this. Okay, it's poison tentacles that will eventually stun you. They work the same basically as the other level carrion crawler. But here's the thing: the enormous carrion crawler has threatening reach, so it can make opportunity attacks against all enemies within 3 squares of it, and it's already a huge creature. So pretty much if you're near it, you're going to get hit, right? The tentacle flurry power that it has is a close blast 3, which means it hits everything around it.
Yep,
And you still only take a little bit of damage. However, it does that same poison damage, and you're slowed if you fail your save. You're immobilized if you fail your save. You are stunned, and you've been taking the poison damage the whole time, and your saves take a -5 penalty, which doesn't seem like a lot, but remember that your save is an 11, right?
yep,
And if you're taking a -5, now your save is a 16.
yep.
And that's not as easy to make as you might think, right?
Yeah, I
Again,
mean,
it's easy to roll a 2 on a d20.
yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. Not
Yeah.
not a joke. And there are player builds and team builds in 40 that really lean into bonuses to saves and granting additional saves and all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's all costing you stuff, right?
Yep.
Either it's costing you itemization or it's costing you powers that you could have spent doing some other cool thing.
Right.
So, you know, you could be specialized against fighting this kind of thing, but 90% of the time it's not worth it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like not many monsters are built this way.
Right.
But I do love, I do my scariest thing when I'm first bloodied. Um,
Right.
just to make sure that they get that off at some point in the combat, right? Unless they're hit with stunned first, which
Right.
is, you know, doable but not especially easy. Uh, I mean, well, it is reasonably easy. You just got to kind of know what you're getting into and think about how you're going to time landing that stun to make sure that the elite has a problem.
Right.
Also notice the action points, right? It's an elite, it has an action point.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
it's
Yep.
going to have another shot at hitting you with tentacles or a bite.
Right.
The bite is meaningful damage. Plus 22 versus AC is very substantial at 17th level. Um, so yeah, 332 hit points. Holy fork, that's a lot of grinding down hit points.
Right.
So
Yep.
much.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. A
I
whole
really
lot.
like these stat blocks. Um, would you scroll down just a little bit more?
Yep.
Uh, because
Yeah.
I
So
really
I'll
like the
put,
encounter
yeah.
groups, right? I think
Right.
that's really
And
good.
right. And so 2 level 7 controller carrion crawlers, those are the first ones we talked about, and 3 Odiugs.
Yep.
That's your encounter group.
Yeah,
Which
and
kind of makes
that's
sense, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's got a very tight, scavenger theme, while also having a good solid blend of monster rolls.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
And I will note that it talks about so in the third edition, so in the second edition listing, it talked about how other creatures might trap people and leave them as food for the carrion crawlers. Third edition did not go there. Okay. And fourth edition does not go there. What fourth edition says is humanoid creatures and aberrant creatures sometimes use carrion crawlers to dispose of waste, and some might train them as mounts or guard beasts, but it doesn't sort of go in the direction of that really horrible idea of putting prisoners there just to be devoured, right? That's which is horrible. Um, and also one other thing, the fourth edition carrion crawler kept the aspects of the third edition that the third edition had added in terms of the art. So it has 2 eye stalks with eyes on the ends. It has the 8 tentacles below an actual sort of standard mandible. It has the two little, mouth palpation pieces out there, and it has a lot of really sharp teeth, even more teeth than in the third edition image. So it
More
kept
teeth, more
all that.
scary.
More teeth, more scary. Let's just take a quick look at the D&D Monster Vault version of it.
Yeah.
Um, the art also has it's almost like a cross between the third edition and the fourth edition. A little closer
Mhm.
to third edition there than the last picture, but now it gives us a fifth level version and a seventh level version and a 15th level version instead of the 7 and 17.
Yeah, and notably all of them soldiers. Oh, sorry, a skirmisher
Uh,
and
the
two soldiers. Yeah, yeah.
Yep, skirmisher and two
Uh,
soldiers. Right.
so for people who don't really speak 4E, uh, a a controller is going to be uh, more vulnerable if someone gets on it, but is going to throw out a lot of conditions, such
Hmm.
as slowed, immobilized, paralyzed. Uh, Skirmishers really want to stick and move. And so unsettling Scuttle as their move action
Right.
is doing that. Um, it is getting to basically drive over enemies and knock them prone.
Right. And
Is
I'll point out just as you're talking about speed here, the speed of this creature is 8,
Yeah,
which is
that's zippy.
faster than the average. And so remember that in third edition they went down to the average kind of speed of a generic humanoid, right? Whereas in previous editions they were always relatively quick, right? And
Yeah,
not every humanoid was that fast. Here they went down to 6 in I think in the previous monster manual, but now they're at 8 here. Yeah, so here it's 6 for both in the 4 edition
that's
in the
right.
4E Monster Manual one. Now in the Monster Vault they're up to 8 for the skirmisher. That makes sense because it's meant to be a quickly moving creature.
That's right. Um, and so this hands out stuns way more generously.
Right.
It goes
Yep.
straight to that stun if it lands a hit on against fortitude, right?
Right.
Uh,
And when it stuns you, now it can move.
but it's having to pick between bite and tentacles for its
Right.
one action on that turn.
Yep. Right. Yeah, the bite does more damage,
Uh,
but the
and
tentacle
right,
stuns you,
yeah,
which
the
is
bite does literally any
that's
damage,
yeah,
but also the bite gets a damage kicker against a stun target.
right.
So it's telling the DM,
Hmm.
uh, you know, first is lesson must you learn, first to stun, then to bite.
Right. Yep.
That worked better in the original song, but I digress.
So that's the level 5 skirmisher. And then the 7 soldier. Now we're back down to our standard speed again because these aren't skirmishers. They're not meant to move around a great deal.
Yep.
And this level 7 soldier is back to the 3-phase immobilize stun. It's actually not 3 phases anymore. It's not slowed, immobilized, stunned. Actually, I guess it is.
No, it totally
It's
is. Yeah.
it totally is. Yeah, it just doesn't. Yeah, it's formatted slightly differently, so my eyes weren't seeing it.
Yeah, get it.
Um, yeah. So you
Uh,
so you take the poison damage. You're slowed, then you fail. You're immobilized, then you fail. You're stunned.
Now,
So
part of it being a soldier is that its bite attack is not a joke at
right,
2d10 plus 4 and
right,
plus 12 to hit. It
right.
also has a pass of hit points, good defenses. Those are
Hmm.
all hallmarks of the
Yeah,
soldier.
yeah. This is a monster vaulted version of the level 7 from the original monster manual.
Right.
Very nice
But it's
conversion
been
there.
it's been turned from a controller into a soldier
Right, but it's been
is
turned to a soldier. Correct.
something to take away here.
Yeah. And then its 15th level cousin um, has a nauseous stench. An enemy that starts its turn in the aura takes 5 poison damage and is slowed. So you don't even have to get hit with the tentacle now. You just need to be near this thing within 15 feet of it, and you're going to take damage and be slowed automatically.
Yep. Um, and now it is instead of you failing saves to progress its thing, uh, you failing saves fails to purge the condition for when it hits you again, but
Right.
it needs you to both fail and get hit again
Hmm.
for it
Yeah.
to move toward stunning you. right?
Right. Right.
Uh, but if it stuns you, you also have a necrotic bleed, which is brutal.
Right.
Um, and the damage on the bite is fine. Uh, Considering how many levels higher it is, it's not
Yeah, that
necessarily enough scarier than
yeah.
the lower
Eh,
level soldier's bite, but
right.
it's fine,
Right.
whatever. Um,
The skirmisher honestly is the scariest one on here,
yeah. Well,
even though it's a lower level.
well, it needs to be said that the damage aura on the level 15
Oh,
uh
sure. Yeah, yeah.
is
Yeah.
making up for a lot of the
Right.
like lack, and also the
Yeah.
rotting
Yeah.
tentacles are gonna be landing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all
Yeah,
meaningful.
no, that I mean that's scary, but at 15th level,
Yeah, yeah, you have solutions.
we'd have solutions for that. Whereas running up against a 5th level skirmisher, carrion crawler, scuttler, who is really freaking fast and really able to just stun the hell out of you, that's brutal.
That's right.
That's really brutal. And I
That's absolutely
think
right.
I would posit that the reason that one and the total like just conjecture people are going to play at levels more often where they would meet something like the level 5 carrion crawler than
Oh,
they
for
are
sure.
where they would meet something like the level 15 carrion crawler. So the level 5 is a much more devastating thing, and it also probably is met more just in the global sense of how many times is it ever used in a game. Probably way more than the level 15.
Yeah, n not even a question, right?
Right,
It's a very much a matter of record
right.
that the lowest levels get the most play.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. All right, so are you ready to move on to fifth edition?
I am fans of the Tome Show, lovely people all, very attractive, very charming.
Yep.
Um, will be aware that it is still not that long since we covered the Carrion Crawler in
Right,
our Monster Manual breakdown. Um, and that was a pretty good time. So you should also feel free to go back and hear the wonderful and clever things that my colleagues had to say about it, and
right.
kindly ignore whatever I said about
Well, but let's pretend like our audience hasn't listened to that particular episode because they're waiting for the whole thing to be released before they start listening.
it.
And let's
Jesus
talk about let's
Christ!
they're gonna be waiting for a few years. But
Don't do that, guys. Don't do that.
no, but in all seriousness, let's actually go through this so that the people listening to this episode don't have to go back and listen to the other one, just to hear that one particular entry. So this is the 2014 Carrion Crawler that I'm looking at, and what I see is large monstrosity, armor class 13, 51 hit points, speed 30, so we're back down to average. The art I notice is much more bug-like again. They kind of
Hmm.
reverted to bug larval type art, which is, it still has kind of these little mandible pincer things, but it doesn't have like giant. It doesn't have a mouthful of giant fangs, although that it does have some fangs.
It,
So
it,
it's kind of a mix of everything.
yeah, yeah. Like it's a little more eel going on, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, the
yeah,
eyes are an interesting sort of new
yeah.
take that
Right.
I don't dislike. I think
That's kind of a mix between like the like the Beckme or the like the BX version with the big beady eyes like this
Mhm.
one, like the big beady eyes there, right? And the actual like
Yeah, that's right.
eyes, like regular eye size. So it's kind of they're kind of blend everything. That's kind of nice to do
Um,
that.
it's interesting that it's not really green at all,
Right.
right? It's
Yeah.
a very light brown
Mm-hmm.
with sort of a whitish underbelly situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I I think I wish they would have gone back to aberration. I think I sort of was
Yeah.
feeling the aberration idea. Um, we're on challenge rating 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and uh, they have a multi-attack that lets them use tentacles and bite. Um, the tentacles have a very good attack bonus, an
Mm-hmm.
absolutely dominating attack bonus
Right.
for this
Yep.
level.
For CR2. Yes.
Holy heck, that
Yes.
is
Really, really
really good.
good. Right. Yep.
Like +8 is amazing at CR2.
Right. Yep.
Um, but it's only doing D4 plus 2 poison damage. Oh, but this DC 13 con save. Uh,
Right.
if you fail, you're poisoned. While you're poisoned, you're paralyzed. Get wrecked.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, then they can follow that up with a bite, and the bite's gonna have advantage if you're paralyzed. Actually, the
Right.
bite's gonna crit if you're paralyzed. Sorry. Uh, Attack against paralyzed target is an automatic crit on a hit. So that's gonna jump from an average of 7 damage to an average of 12 damage. At you know, for something you're fighting at CR2, that's not a joke. If it's already landed another average of 4 damage from the tentacles, that's starting to add up. You're having a bad day. You could very plausibly be dirt napping by that point.
Where does it say it's an automatic crit?
That's how
Oh, because you're
paralyzed works.
paralyzed. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's I forgot because you're paralyzed. So
yeah,
yeah. So in fact, if I hover, right, it's going to show me that. Yeah.
yeah. Automatic
Yep.
critical hits.
Because
There it is.
you're incapacitated. Yep. Okay. So here's the thing, right? That's freaking brutal, right? Because
Yep.
the DC 13 con save, if you're of a level that's meeting CR2 or challenge level 2 creatures, like a DC 13 con save is not necessarily a given. Like it
Nope.
feels like, oh, well, I have a 60% chance or whatever of making this, 65% chance.
Yeah, but that
But
40% failure chance there,
that's
bud.
right. That's really rough, right? Because
Yeah.
when you fail, right, even though you get to make a save on each of your turns, right?
Mhm.
Fine. However, you know how many people I've seen fail 4 saves in a row and sit through a whole combat and not do anything, right?
Absolutely. And
So,
also, like, 51 hit points. So
yeah,
13 AC is quite low. Uh,
right,
even at CR2, it's on the low end.
right,
51 hit points is pretty respectable. You're
right.
not one rounding this without some very good luck,
Yeah.
um, even with your whole team focusing fire in the CR2 band. Just not going to happen, right? Like, if
Yep.
you've got a paladin and they have a way to just about guarantee a crit, then okay. But you you've really customized your tactics at that point, right? So this is built to like sort of make you think, oh, not so bad. Oh, I'm paralyzed. Oh no.
Right. Right.
Um, Now the save structure resembles 4E saves because you get a
Hmm.
chance to purge the condition at the end of each of your turns,
Right.
which is
Right.
great. None of us actually want to see a PC just sit there and do nothing for 4 rounds of combat. That's not
Right.
cool.
Right.
Um, we love to
So
see them end a condition early, right?
right. The description has this interesting difference of it that it doesn't talk about in any of the other editions. It says when facing potential prey or intruders, a carrion crawler lets its poison do the work. That's fine. That's typical. They've said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Once a victim goes rigid with paralysis, the carrion crawler wraps it with its tentacles and drags it away to a high ledge or isolated passageway
Mm,
where it can be killed safely. The
yeah.
monster then resumes patrolling its territory while waiting for its meal to ripen. That is an expansion of the behavior of this creature that we have not seen before.
Yeah, and that's serving a gameplay purpose, if a
Right,
sort of abstruse one, which
right,
is how do we get our dude back? Do we go to the same
right,
spot? No, our dude has been moved. Our
right,
princess is in another castle,
right.
and
Now we have to go follow the drag marks and
right.
hopefully catch it before it completely
And,
starts taking bites out.
and they've been moved to a place that might include a challenge to reach
Right,
because we
high
might
on a
not have,
ledge. Yep,
right, well, because it
yep,
has spider climb and we might not.
right, exactly. Yep,
So that's
yep,
doing an interesting little piece of work. And
right.
I have bad news. If you've been listening to the series, you know that information is probably gone in 2024
Oh,
because they
is
they
it?
boiled down lore. Oh God, they boiled down lore so
Oh,
hard. Oh
yeah.
Lord. All right.
I don't
So
have 2024, so
so I'm gonna I'll
I
run
don't know
this
what it
one,
says.
right?
Yeah.
All right. So with the Carrion Crawler, there's no change to the AC, no change to the hit points, um, no change to the movement. That's all right where you expect.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, we're still talking about CR2. One of the
Okay.
things about the 2014 to 2024, nothing can change CR, right?
Okay.
Because if they change CR, then that breaks adventures, and 5e
Right.
adventures being
Yep.
backward
Yep.
compatible by
Right.
CR is critical.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Um, so keen smell is gone. It now just has expertise in perception.
Okay.
Okay. They wanted to reclaim the column inches of
Right.
everything called keen smell or keen senses. It's still a spider climb. Um, its multi-attack is essentially the same, except that tentacles has been renamed paralyzing tentacles. Um, and the bite uh, now does poison damage in and of itself, uh,
Okay.
uh, in addition to the same amount of piercing damage. So it's a D6 poison kicker, um, and again only at +4 to hit. So very similar to what's here, but a little bit more damage. And then paralyzing tentacles. The this was a notable weird one from on day one release of the book. So the DC 12 saving throw is not Constitution, it's Dexterity
Huh. Because
because
you're
they're
trying to
making it
get out of
about
the way of the
avoiding. Right.
tentacle.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But that's a weird
Ah.
move for poison all day,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
and the target is one creature that the Carrion Crawler can see within 10 feet. So that's their language for reach because it's forcing
Okay.
a save and not making an attack roll at all, right?
Right.
There is
Okay.
no attack roll. This stuff
Right.
ignores
Hmm.
armor completely. Armor will not help you in any
Right.
way against these
Right.
tentacles. Um, but on a failure, the target has a poison condition and repeats the save at the end of each of its turns. Any effect on itself on a success. Um, After 1 minute, it succeeds automatically, while poisoning the target has the paralyzed condition. So it's doing the same thing,
Wow.
except that the paralyzing tentacles carry no damage at all again.
Hmm. Right. But also they don't have to make an attack roll.
They don't have to make an attack roll.
Right.
The goggles, they do nothing. Um, so the like I said, the lore segment here is stripped down pretty far. Um, Ravenous corpse eaters carrying crawlers gravitate toward places of slaughter and decay. In such charnel environs, they feast on the dead with no qualms about their meal's origin or freshness. Carrion crawlers have segmented bodies like gigantic cutworms. From beneath their multi-part maws protrude 8 thin, lashing tentacles. Creatures struck by these tentacles risk being paralyzed and consumed. Carrion crawlers scour sewers, battlefields, necropolises, and fetid wildernesses for corpses. Wildernesses? Wildernesses, Samuel.
Multiple wildernesses.
Yes, but they have learned about the outdoors,
Yes.
the
Right.
big room
You
outside.
mean they came out of the dungeon? Holy crap.
Yeah. Um, uh, but they prefer to cling to ceilings to ambush smaller prey and to avoid competing hunters. They're drawn to light and the scent of blood, recognizing them as signs of food. These scavengers avoid ingesting inorganic material. Crypts with funeral armors sucked clean of their corpses and eerily pristine catacombs are signs of infestation by carrion crawlers. So I like that last bit. I like how they close
Yeah.
that out as a
So
clue to what's coming. I think
yeah,
that's
I
good.
will say that in the 2014, I didn't read the whole description to you, but it does actually say these foul creatures hunker down in territories where death is plentiful and other carrion eaters have limited mobility. Caves, sewers, dungeons, and forested marshes are their favored lairs, but carrion crawlers also are drawn to battlefields and cemeteries. So it gave them some expanded range in the 2014 as well. That's not just a 2024 thing.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, interesting, very interesting. I'm gonna look at fourth edition again and see what it says about their territory.
because he doesn't know the territory.
Um, I don't think that it says anything. Nope. What about the vault? Since crawlers tend to live in subterranean darkness or hunt at night on the surface. Aha! So fourth edition allows them to come to the surface too. Hmm. Crawlers tend to live in subterranean darkness or hunt at night on the surface. Light signals a potential meal, and carrion crawler might follow a light source from a distance for hours, hoping to pick up the scent of blood. Well, that's very interesting. Um, that was in the Monster Vault, fourth edition. So,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the reasons why Brandis and I wanted to do this, or I can just speak for myself too. One of the reasons why I thought this was a good idea, other than the fact that the Tome Show is actually doing that such a deep dive into the 2024 Monster Manual, but what I find fascinating is as we move through editions with these different creatures, some things stay the same for the entire time and some things kind of constantly evolve, but they evolve in small iterations, so you don't see how different it is until the end. And some things evolve in these sort of 2 or 3 steps at a time, so that you see big changes from one edition to the next, and sometimes it's a mixture of those. And I find that fascinating just from a design and development perspective, and I find these things that they talk about fascinating from a biological perspective. So that's part of the reason why we wanted to do this. We hope that it is entertaining and informative for you, and that you enjoy this episode and the next 11. We're not going to tell you what creatures we're going to do for each one. You're going to have to just listen and be delighted by what we decide to talk about.
I love the implication that we know as of current recording.
We do know, but the thing that what we don't know is so the problem is there are many, many important, fascinating, iconic creatures, and there's only 12 days in the 12 days of Christmas. So you're gonna obviously there's gonna be ones that we skip that you wanted us to cover, and there's gonna be ones that we cover that you wonder why the heck did you pick that? And there's no rhyme or reason sometimes. It's just these are the ones that Brandis and I like. So there you go.
I'm looking forward to it. I love sort of thinking about why people make the monster design choices they make, and that for me is a lot of the joy of this series. Um, like I love that we get to see the moment at which they finally admit, man, this attack pattern is a bummer at the table. What if we did not do this?
You're right.
Uh, and you
Yep.
see a moment like that with lots of different monsters, right?
Hmm.
Where it's
Yep.
just sort of they finally get to this is bad. We should not be doing this. Um, but a lot of the time, it's going to be fourth edition where there's the first really big like seismic shift in how this monster works.
Right.
Um, at
Right.
other times, it's going to be 3.0, right?
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but
And hardly ever is it two,
right,
because
correct.
most of the 2E creatures, it was kind of forbidden to change them that much from 1E. So you don't see big changes, but you might see some subtle ones. So
That's right.
there you go. Yep. Well, having said that, Brandis, where can we people find you on the internet?
Well, you can find me mainly in the Citadel of Song, where I am fighting bugs. Sorry, I'm playing Silk Song a lot. That game rules.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
I loved Hollow Knight, and the chance to play Hornet has made it worth the wait. That game rules. So you can find me on Blue Sky at brendastoddard.bsky.social. My blog is brendastoddard.com, and my Patreon is Brenda Stoddard. How about you, Sam?
You can find me on rpgmusings.com. You can find me all over the Tome Show. I'm still DM Samuel on all the social medias, but honestly, I don't go there very often. So better to just join the Tome Show Discord and then ping me, and I would be happy to chat with you and answer any questions. I do check my social media occasionally. I'm on Blue Sky. Sometimes I go to Twitter just to see because sometimes people send me DMs and whatnot, but I'm not on there a lot. So if I don't respond to you, I apologize. It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's just I don't spend a lot of time on X or Blue Sky or Mastodon hardly at all. I still have my accounts, but I just don't spend a lot of time there. So I apologize in advance if you've sent me a message and I didn't get back to you. Come join the Tome Show Discord, and we'd be happy to talk to you there.
I think that making a good mental health choice and avoiding social media is a fine call.
Yeah, yeah, it is definitely, yeah, it was a good choice. So. with that, we will bid you adieu until tomorrow.